Welcome to our third session, and our focus tonight is on the practice of discernment. And so it seemed like, why don't we just go around, say your name, where you're located, and one thing you're struggling to discern these days. I'll start. I'm Jim. I'm in Tolleson, Arizona, and struggling to discern how long we're going to stay in this place and when we might move. Karen.
Pull it up a little bit. That's good.
Karen.
You want to go next?
What's next? I don't know.
Did you say Karen?
I did. I said Karen.
Let's see. So I'm joining you for the first time, but I did hear last week's session because it was recorded. That was great. What am I discern? I'm working on discernment. I feel like I've made some decisions about discernment, so I'm trying to think what I'm struggling with.
Or a need, current need for discernment you're working on.
So I'm working on what it looks like to enable the community of Uptown in Chicago to become carbon free.
Larry.
Larry Philbrook, Taipei, Taiwan. I'm also, Jim, struggling with how long I'm going to stay in this place. But the other discernment piece is around that I'm struggling with right now is the focus of my eldership.
Sharon.
Sharon, and I'm in Sammamish, Washington, about 30 miles east of Seattle. I would say one of the points of discernment for me is helping my church find a worship leader.
Martin.
Martin Rapanan, calling in from the Hill District in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And one of the things I'm trying to discern now is how best to support a local congregation as it seeks for reparations.
Jill.
I guess I and we are struggling with end of life issues, and also considering when in the next 10 years we'll be moving. When we can't get up our steps.
Yeah, well, we have 13 steps that we have to climb every time. And we're at the age where most parents begin to think about moving closer to their families, whether it be their son or their daughter or whatever. That's a subject that is fastly approaching us. We've had a couple of our own age just tell us that they were leaving the church to move to Seattle to be with their daughter and son-in-law who invited them and created a space for them in their home. Well, we're of the same age as those people that just left. And of course, you guys know Gail and Lynn Oden, who are good friends of ours, who also just this past year or so have moved into assisted living. So that's another area that we need to look at for possible future for the next 5 or 10 years.
Marshall.
I'm working on discerning what's going to be the shape of the rest of my life. I just turned 82, and discerning the will of God for me is a big issue. I have lots of options.
Yeah.
Dean.
Jesus.
I am in Gainesville, Georgia, and at this minute, anyway. Well, today, I'm beginning the process of deciding or discerning whether or not we should get another little puppy. Our little Maltese is elderly now, so we could help in training and stuff like that. We've discerned that.
Can you move closer to the mic? I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. We figured out that, an older dog around trains a puppy about half the time that it takes. So we're considering taking on another little puppy.
And Ruth.
I didn't hear the question, but it's in the arena of what are we concerned about?
Something you're working on discerning.
Okay. I'm discerning in my community how we address both climate action and gun violence, and through a large coalition of people that are creatively working that together.
So Martine is our host tonight, so I'm going to turn it over to him to get us started.
Welcome, everyone. I thought we'd start with a meditation by Flora Slosan-Wellner, who is one of the persons referred to in this chapter. As we are all in a process of discerning something, I think probably we're always in a process of being in discernment. Let's take a few minutes to quiet our hearts and think about those things. So if you would, just please choose a comfortable, restful posture. And let me lead you through this meditation from Flora Wellner. Limitless love and strength undergird and hold you. You are surrounded by all creation and the power of life that has brought you to this point. Listen to your question, your problem, your longing and confusion. There is help and guidance for you. The will, the deep desire, and the longing of life embraces you. Take a few deep, slow, gentle breaths without pushing or forcing. Then breathe naturally and peacefully. Think of each breath as the power of life, renewing and flowing through you. Picture or just think of this breath of life flowing into all parts of your body, especially to bodily areas that feel stressed, tight, or tense. Let these bodily areas breathe the breath of life. When you feel ready, ask yourself, How have I looked for guidance in the past? Through prayer, through my church or faith organization, through other people's opinions, through my conscience, through intuitive inner feelings? Or did guidance come in other ways to me? Through a book, a dream, a walk in the woods, a clear sense of authentic duty? Or did it come in some other way? How did I feel when this guidance came? Surprised? Pushed? Peaceful? Anxious? Renewed and strengthened? Think of some decisions you made based on the guidance you felt. Ask yourself, did those decisions turn out to be the right choices? If so, what were the results of my choices? If not, what misled me? Was it the influence of others? Some problem within me? Did I overlook warning signs? What question or problem am I facing now? How do I feel about the choices I am encountering? Breathe again with a few slow, deep breaths, and then breathe naturally. Let your body rest. When ready, express your need or your problem as clearly as possible to the universe and to yourself in your own way, using your own words. You do not yet know the right answer, but it is within you. You will be given authentic signs in the right time. Picture or just think of the question enfolded in light or resting in the heart of the gift of life that is you. It may help to think of others holding your question in their hands. Rest quietly. If anxious feelings arise, that is natural. Just express the feelings without guilt. Let the feeling also be enfolded by all that surrounds you. When you feel ready, breathe a few deep, slow breaths and gradually leave your meditation, gently massaging your face or your hands. Our chapter today, chapter 2, is on discernment. We are going to have a series of dialogues. I think, Jim, that we can do 2 groups. We will
Okay.
do 2 breakout groups. In each of those breakout groups, you will have a set of questions that will appear in the chat. Feel free to use those questions as a start for your conversations and your dialogue, or you may choose to take the dialogue in a different direction. That's for your group to determine. Each session, and we're going to have 3 of them, will be 20 minutes long, and there is no report out. So just feel free to dialogue and discuss. What I ask is that in each group, someone take responsibility for at least looking at the questions and perhaps reading one so that you can have a start to your dialogue. Also, I would like you to pay as much attention as possible to giving each person a chance to speak and be heard in the group. So again, in your group, quickly introduce yourself, perhaps maybe read one of the statements in the chat, and then feel free to share. As I said, for about 20 minutes. You'll get a warning sign at about 2 minutes, and that will allow you then to close. When we come back, we'll be put into different groups. All right, so you'll go into your second session with a different set of questions, and these are all based on the chapter, and then you'll have a different group to work with. We'll do this 3 times. So just a couple of comments. These are some of my kind of responses to this chapter. For me, there was one thing that was really important when I thought about the issue of discernment in my own life. And that was that I often think about my own agency, my own ability, my own power to actually do things that make a difference. And the question is, to what extent in our lives do we feel that we have this agency to recreate, as it were, the world? In Pittsburgh, we have 3 what we call the sister bridges in downtown Pittsburgh. They all look the same. They're these beautiful yellow bridges that go across the Allegheny River. And one of them is the Roberto Clemente Bridge. One of them is the Andy Warhol Bridge. One of them is the Rachel Carson Bridge. And when I think of those 3 people, I think of the power that they had in their lives, the agency that they had to create change, and to actually transform our communities and our culture. So that was the first thing I thought of. Second thing that came to my mind was, I just think that we're human, and what I think really are the characteristics of humanness are that we think, we feel, we decide, and we act. I believe those 4 things are what make us human. And each of those faculties, I believe, and I think the author tells us, is a part of the discernment process, a part of how we make these hard decisions or tough decisions in our lives. And the tremendous opportunity we have when we discern and we move into our discernment is that we have the ability to recreate ourselves. And as we recreate ourselves, we become a part of the ongoing creative and transformative processes that are continuing all around us. And then finally, this chapter was just a wonderful way to come in touch with a lot of guides. And you may be familiar with many of these guides. Perhaps you even know some of these guides, know them personally. but Wellner, Rohr, Parker, Kelly, Nowen, Buber, Ignatius of Loyola, Heschel, Buechner, and a number of others that are mentioned in this chapter were just a beautiful kind of reintroduction to folks who are incredible guides for us as we continue in our discernment processes. And I hope that you will take time to look. If you haven't read those folks, now is the time to read them. They're fantastic. If you have, it's time to go back and read them again. It was wonderful for me. I just put this little Google picture map together to actually look again at these tremendous guides and what they provide to us in the discernment process. So yeah, those are just some things that came to my mind. And so let's go into our breakout sessions. I hope you can share there what was important to you in these chapters, and look in the chat for the questions for this session. Jim, are we ready?
Welcome back, everyone. Welcome to Mary D'Souza, who joined us while we were in in our breakout groups. And for the second round, Andy says that discernment is I put this in the chat. Andy says that discernment is a subtle art, more scalpel than hatchet, and it is a journey that typically requires a good guide. What or who are the guides for discernment in your life? In what ways has this guidance helped you? Are there voices in your life that are not helpful? Why? Jesus was moved into action by compassion. How does this happen in your life? How do the rhythms of withdrawal and engagement make discernment a more organic and dynamic presence?
Practice.
Practice. Oops, sorry.
And
let the next session unfold.
Back.
Feedback.
Martine was your last word, map?
I was trying to say that I have gratitude for all of those folks.
Interesting. We had 2 minutes of gratitude sharing too in our group.
Mm.
Well, everyone, thank you so much for your sharing today and for the dialogue. Really appreciate it, and thankful to Andy for a good chapter.
Mm.
Next week, chapter 3, stability. Ronnie Seagren has been working on that, and as a symbol of stability, she decided to celebrate Canadian Thanksgiving rather than joining us.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And she was making pie.
Yeah.
Mm.
So thank you, we're complete. We'll leave the room open for a while if anybody wants to chat, share reflections or whatever like that. Ruth?
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
And for organizing this.
Mary, I didn't get to be in a little group with you.
I'm sorry I was late.
Here. Yeah. Thanks for being here. I hope you can still make it each time.
I want to.
Really nice.
Really thankful for all the
Great
work.
to see you, everybody.
Both
Bye.
things have been so done.
Thank you.
They've been so well organized. I am.
Bye.
Thanks, Jim.
Is that the new dog or the old dog?
This is the old one, and she just thinks that I'm just spending too much time here right now. I need to take.
What kind of dog? What kind of dog is that?
This is a little Maltese, an old Maltese. She's like 14 years old. Maybe some of you saw her way back when. I don't know if you've been.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, she's an old lady now, like me.
Now, Larry, Jean, and Marshall, were you wanting to have an opportunity to volunteer to take on one of these future chapters?
No,
See, that discernment process went very quickly.
That was too quick.
Chapter 5 is on imagination.
But
Yes.
believe me,
Chapter 6 is on organizing.
yeah.
I am actually considering, but I want to catch up before I commit.
I actually have the book now, but your chart was so good, and these outlines that have been sent ahead have been so good. I did read. I am caught up now with the 2 chapters, but not very far ahead in the book.
And Martine, I really appreciated your prep. That was really, really helpful.
Yeah. That piece with the authors and the guides, that was a huge gift. And thank you so much for, it was so wonderful. I hope you just had a blast doing it because
Yeah,
it was beautiful.
Really enjoyed it because I was, as I was reading the chapter, it was like, oh wow, he is getting at some of these authors are some of my favorite authors, but others were,
New.
I hadn't really looked at them for a long time. So, and it was wonderful to look again at the Examine and the Ignatian spirituality and things that I had looked at in the past, but never haven't looked at in recently. So it was fun. It was really fun to do that, and I enjoyed it. Now continue that. I pulled the books. So these were books that I really owned already. So I'm gonna get back, I'll get back into them.
Wow.
But Jim, I'm willing to take the chapter on organizing.
Oh, all right.
Great.
Why don't you see if you can talk Ellie or Carlton into working with you on that?
I'll be happy to.
Or have them do another chapter. We don't need to gang up. We need to get more people on other chapters.
The poetic imaging in these these last two chapters, as I said, I haven't gotten through the book, but are amazing. I really appreciate this author. I wish he almost would join us every night.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm going to let you go. I need to get the rest of my day on the way. And take care. I'll see you next week.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Right.
I can,
Thank you all for coming.
for sure.